So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anne Rosser, current chair of EHDN, and I'd like to welcome you all to the EHDN 2021 remote meeting. So this is the first annual meeting of this sort for EHDN, although many of you will remember that we had a successful remote bridging event in August 2020, which was hosted by Patrick White. Before going any further, I'd just like to thank the programme committee and especially Patrick White, the committee chair, for their hard work throughout the last year and for putting together such an interesting and wide-ranging programme. I'd also like to thank Franziska Steck, Katrin Barth, Sina Bartosz, who've collectively done a fantastic job of leading the operational side of this meeting. And thank you also to the rest of the EHDN team members who've contributed in various ways over the last year. Following the bridging event last August, we had really hoped to hold this year's meeting in Bologna. But of course, the continuing pandemic was much worse than many of us had anticipated. Although on the bright side, we're able to welcome many more of you from much further afield than we would have done at a face-to-face meeting. And I'm confident that we'll have an exciting and stimulating 3 days with excellent presentations and ample opportunities to interact. The event will be hosted by myself and Professor Jean-Marc Burgunder, who you can see on the screen. Jean-Marc was a previous EHDN chair, and together we'll aim to guide you through the next 3 days. I just want to say that a couple of our usual stalwarts who were due to speak or chair can't be with us today. Noina Lahari unfortunately can't be here due to a family emergency, and Sarah Tabrizi is awaiting urgent knee surgery, and she specifically asked me to say how sorry she is not to be able to make the meeting. And so we send them our very best wishes. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Astri Arnesen, Chair of the European Huntington's Association, who'll say a few words of welcome. Thank you, Astri.
Thank you so much, Anne, and it's really an honor to be here, and thank you for organizing everything and allowing this to happen, even though it's online and not face-to-face, as we all would have wanted, I think, as our first option if we could choose. Now, when you're affected by Huntington's disease, it relates to all aspects in your life, and it has a very broad spectrum of implications. For many of us, it's a fight against ignorance, a fight against fear, against stigma, and a fight for support and for good care. And being a chronic disease, it forces us to find ways to cope with the uncertainty, with the disease progression, and with the loss of functions and capability. It can be quite hard at times, but many of us find good ways to cope, in particular if we are supported. A couple of weeks ago, we organized a meeting with a group of young people from HD families to consult them about a project we do in EHA called Moving Forward. We asked them, what do you think are the most important when you meet healthcare professionals? One of the women told us her story when she decided to get tested at around the age of 20. She came to the appointment to get the result of the test to learn whether she had inherited her father's Huntington mutation or not. Imagine a young 20-year-old woman alone going to be confronted with her future. When she came in to the room, she would handle the document with the test result and had to read it herself. She was gene positive. The world stopped spinning for a second and then started an emotional roller coaster trip she had never experienced before. Now, in situations like this, there are no procedures describing what you as a healthcare professional should do. The best thing you can do is to be a human being and show empathy. And this is really what stood out from the group discussion we had about what was most important from healthcare professionals. We need you to have knowledge about HD, but even more importantly, we need you to listen to us and to demonstrate or to give us emotional support. And I know that many of you already do a fantastic job and play a major role in how people manage to cope with the disease. I met many of you myself. And still, we need more people to improve their knowledge and their understanding of HD. And this conference is arranged for that reason. I think Carl, in the video you are just about to see, is a great example of how he and his family has found ways to cope, and also what some of the fights they face look like. And they have found invaluable support in the HD community and in the German Huntington Hilfe. I hope that after this conference, more HD affected patients and family members will meet more healthcare professionals with even more knowledge in HD and maybe even more empathy and compassion. So I will share screen with you, and hopefully YouTube will allow us to see this without showing us the adverts.
Ich bin dankbar für mein Leben. Ich bin dankbar für meine Familie. Sie geben mir Kraft. Das ist nicht selbstverständlich. Ich will können, wie ich will. Ich will nicht zur Last fallen. Wieso ich? Ich will können wie früher. Ich will denken wie früher. Ich will sein wie früher. Wieso ich? Hoffentlich haben meine Kinder es nicht. Es frisst mich auf. Hoffentlich haben meine Kinder es nicht. Die Krankheit nimmt mir die Zeit. Immer mehr. Wieso guckst du so? Glaubst du, ich bin betrunken? Ich bin krank. Schau hin. Schau einfach genauer hin.
Ich heiße Klaus und lebe mit der Huntington-Krankheit.
So thank you, and I wish you all a very good conference.
Thank you, Astri, for sharing those thoughts and for sharing that very moving and powerful video. I'm sure everyone appreciated it. So we're going to move on now to the EHDN business part of the meeting. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I hope you can see that now. Okay, so it's 2 years since our last face-to-face meeting in Vienna. And in between now and then, we've had 18 months of the pandemic. But as a network, we've continued to function and grow. So our committees, in particular the Executive Committee and the Scientific and Bioethics Advisory Committee, the SBAC, have continued to meet regularly by Zoom. And apart from some slowing over the early part of 2020, we've remained highly active in most areas of network business. So what I'd like to do is to give you some highlights and also to look forward a bit to 2020. So endorsement of clinical studies is something that's taken very seriously within EHDN. Study protocols go through rigorous review by the SBAC, followed by face-to-face discussion, most recently obviously by Zoom, within the Executive Committee. So since the last plenary meeting, we've endorsed 7 major clinical studies, which are listed here, and have reviewed a number of protocol amendments. And these studies are supported by the network, and we work hard to maintain ongoing interactions with these study sponsors. The SBAC and Executive Committee also review seed fund applications, as well as data mining and sample use requests. So over the last 2 years, there have been 10 applications that have been granted access to data or samples to the legacy registry data, and 16 seed fund grants have been awarded. The seed fund competition is run twice yearly with deadlines on the 1st of March and 1st of November. And to give you an idea of the range of seed fund applications, you can see that within the 2021 awards, these range from molecular genetic studies, cell biology and biochemistry, right through to clinical studies, and on this occasion, a study of body sensors for detecting hyperkinetic movements. So seed funds are open to all full members, and you can find application forms on the EHDN website. So the working groups and task forces are one of the cornerstones of EHDN. The working groups are broader, focusing on a set of problems, usually with several active projects, and task forces are more focused to a specific task and are usually time limited. So the current working groups and task forces are listed here, and these have, most of them have managed to remain active through Zoom networking, with face-to-face meetings largely suspended. Some of these groups have been established and active since the inception of EHDN, and others are much newer. So this is a fluid list. Non-active groups can be discontinued and new active groups established from scratch. So these groups are powered by the membership. So if you're interested in being part of one of these groups, you can read more about the group's mission and activities and access the contact details of the lead facilitators via the website. And I would like to say that these groups are a testament to the commitment and generosity of the EHDN membership. This work is not remunerated, and it's undertaken by clinicians, scientists, allied health workers, family members, and many others, because they care about making a difference. And impressively, people find time for these activities as a part of their already busy schedules. So it's important to say that this work is recognised and very much appreciated. So one marker of the value of these groups and of the resources that I mentioned earlier are the published outputs, which you can find on the website. And I hope you can you see the website link? I don't know whether that's showing up or not, but essentially on the website you can click through and see the publications that have come out over the last few years, just showing here the publications since the 2018 meeting. So almost certainly these are not exhaustive lists, so please don't hesitate to let us know if you spot publications that are missing from these lists. So another way of facilitating EHDN's strategy to promote research is the activity of the EHDN think tank. So the membership of this group is shown on the right. There are 3 current executive committee members, our scientific officer, Mike Orth, and we're grateful for continued input from Jean-Marc, previous EC member and EHDN chair. This group functions to support EHDN scientific activities and is answerable to the Executive Committee, and its remit includes both internal and external interactions. So a key activity is to support and listen to working group and task force lead facilitators to help identify potential collaborations or funding opportunities, or if they want to discuss scientific ideas, that's also permitted. It's also a forum for other internal discussions, such as with the communication team. It also provides a forum for both internal and external collaborators, including those from both industry and academia, to identify key scientific questions in Huntington's. And the think tank may occasionally propose specific research topics itself that could be addressed specifically by HD researchers, for instance, through forming of a new task force. So anybody can contact the think tank via the website or also via the think tank coordinator, Christina Bukanovic. I'd also like to mention clinical trial site certification. So this is a scheme managed by the Enroll HD Clinical Trial Committee, and it logs trial relevant information on potential clinical trial sites and can make this information available to sponsors who are preparing to run clinical trials. So this scheme works in both ways. It helps sponsors in selecting appropriate sites to meet recruitment needs. And for sites, it provides a mark of readiness to take part in clinical trials and also reduces the burden of providing baseline information to sponsors in a repeated fashion. So currently there are 162 applications in progress, with 121 of those currently certified. So it's important to note that although the majority of sites are Enroll sites, this scheme is open to all sites. So it's a good way of engaging and signalling your capacity to undertake clinical trials. Over the last year, we've also been reviewing the Constitution. So this is a process that's undertaken intermittently, and this is the third iteration of the Constitution since the beginning of EHDN. So the Constitution and a summary of the changes are on the website. And most of these changes are to align the Constitution with current practices and also some semantic edits to improve clarity. There are a couple that are probably worth highlighting, which are provision to extend the term of committee meetings due to unforeseen circumstances. And of course, this has been prompted by the COVID crisis, as we were unable to hold the EHDN elections in 2020 as planned. And so we've had to extend some of the terms of office. And also increase flexibility in committee appointments. And this will allow the option of appointing rather than electing new SBAT members. And this is an option that will be taken up next year to replace outgoing SBAT members, because we hope this will help to ensure that we can achieve the necessary spread of clinical and scientific expertise that we need within the SBAC. So the Constitution has been available on the website to scrutinise, submit comments and to vote. The voting has now closed, and I'm pleased to say that the results are overwhelmingly in favour of the changes. So thank you to all of those EHDN members who took the time to review the Constitution and to vote. I want to let you know about developments in EHDN communication policy. We have a new science writer, Catherine DeProse, who is leading on a review and revision of the communication policy. And you can see the people involved in this process on the right. And part of this is two surveys, one to survey people's experience of the website, and the other, the EHDN newsletter survey. They are coming close to the deadlines. Your feedback is really important to us, so we'd be really grateful if you could go online and complete those surveys. I'd also like to advertise an online course that will be running jointly with EHDN and the Movement Disorder Society on the principles, assessment and treatment of Huntington's. So the idea for this course originated following the temporary suspension of the fellowship programme during the pandemic as a mechanism to provide something for the fellows who were unable to take up their fellowships and to complement the fellowship programme for all the past, present and future fellows. It will now be much broader than that. The course directors, Mike Orth, who's a neurologist in Bern, and as I've already mentioned, our EHDN Science Director, and Christos Ganos from the Educational Committee of the MDS European section. The course will be running on the dates that are shown. It'll be free to register, and further details can be found on the MDS website. So finally, we're very much hoping to hold our next plenary meeting face-to-face in Bologna in September 2020. The programme committee will be jointly chaired by Patrick White and Arthur Peterson. So please look out for information about this meeting next year. And as part of that meeting, we'll be holding elections for the executive committee, and we'll be appointing new SBAT members. So we'd like to encourage all of you to think about nominating someone who you think you'd like to see in these roles, or indeed nominating yourself. And again, there'll be more details to follow on these elections in 2022. So that concludes the business part of the meeting. Before we move to the meeting proper, I just need to mention a few housekeeping items. You're all invited to check out the 130 posters in the poster area. The posters are available all the time during the event and will still be available for 3 weeks after the event until the 29th of September. However, the main time to visit the posters is during the poster sessions, which are scheduled at the start and or at the end of each day. Because at this time, the poster presenters are asked to be available and there's no stream programme ongoing in these slots. So you can contact the poster presenters by message on a one-to-one basis or post public questions underneath each poster. So in terms of networking with attendees, you've got the opportunity to get in touch with every attendee by message or even meet up for a video chat, providing the other person's online. And we encourage you to complete your profile with a photo and a short bit of information if that's not, if you haven't already done that, because we think this will create a friendlier environment which will facilitate interactions. There'll be a mix of live presentations during this meeting and pre-recorded talks. You're invited to post your questions in the Q&A box beneath the talk, and the speakers will either answer live or afterwards in a written form via the Q&A platform. The sessions can be paused if needed and wound back, but importantly, after each talk, there'll be a pop-up notification that will ask you if you want to stay in the current talk or want to join the live talk. So either clicking to live talk or clicking nothing will automatically guide you to the next talk within 5 seconds. So all the presentations and discussions, as well as the posters, will continue to be available on the meeting platform in an on-demand fashion, starting next Monday, the 13th, and continuing until the 29th of September. And finally, there are 11 CME credits available for this meeting. And that's the case whether you attend 1, 2 or 3 days. So all registered attendees will automatically receive a confirmation of participation within the next few days, and you can submit that to receive your credits. So to finish, we'd like to thank CHDI as the key sponsor of the European Huntington's Disease Network, and we thank all the sponsors of this event. Please feel free to visit the sponsor area and to find out more about our sponsors. So thank you. So with that, I wish you all a good meeting